Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the horror experience. It's Brian. I'm sorry I didn't do the live stream last week. I ended up getting sick with what I think was COVID, and I could be wrong, but it probably was something else, but it sure felt like it. It was the same symptoms that I had when I actually tested positive for it, for COVID back in 2019 when it first came around. They knew very little about it. There were no vaccines, none of that shit. Which I didn't think any of it was doing much anyway. But that lasted 3.5 weeks back in, uh, you know, back when it first started, when I got it the first time. And then this time, it only lasted 3 days. So I don't know if maybe my immune system just kicked its ass real quick or what. Maybe it was well armed this time around and prepared for it. I don't know. Or it might have just been something else. But the only symptoms I got both times is just fatigue and achy, like I had the flu, but without any other symptoms at all, without any sniffles or coughing or none of that shit. Just aches and felt like I hadn't slept in a month. But so I slept for almost 3 days straight. Not quite, but I slept a lot at night, and then I slept a lot, napped on and off throughout the day, and I think that helped. But it might have been something else. Maybe I had a little flu bug or something. Who knows? But anyway, so that's the excuse behind that. And then a few days ago, right after I'm finally feeling better, the fucking air conditioning goes out. And of course I live in Central California, and towards the end of May, as you're getting into June, it starts, the heat starts kicking in. You start getting into the 90s, and pretty soon you're hitting the 100, the triple digits. And we had 104 not long ago. Today was 101. And unfortunately my apartment complex has gone through a new ownership, and needless to say, it ain't good. I've been here 17 years, and it's only because we set this place up specifically for the podcast, basically, long ago. And I mean, it's pretty much still set up that way, or semi. We're still in the process of moving shit out and bringing in some new stuff and getting ready for that. But I wanted to wait until my live capabilities came on with YouTube before I got that started, because I kind of wanted to do that on YouTube specifically. And anyway, so I've been here a long time, and I've seen a lot of owners and a lot of maintenance and management and everything else come and go over the years. I mean, we've gone through like 5 owners, I think, since I've been here. We moved in here in 2007, so that's a long time, and here we are in 2024, so it's 17 years going on 18. That's the longest I've ever lived anywhere. So I've been happy here for the most part. It's got its moments, but like right now, as far as our area of the complex is concerned, it's quiet. We've got a lot of good tenants here, and until somebody moves out, and then you're just keeping your fingers crossed you don't get some pile of shit in here again, because we've gone through that, and it isn't fun. But so far nobody's going anywhere that I know of, so and I know everybody, and everybody kind of keeps an eye on each other's shit, and as best we can anyway. People get deliveries, and some of the people here work nights, so they're sleeping during the day, and then a delivery will show up, and it'll sit out there all fucking day. So I'll pound on the door and just let them know, hey, you got stuff out here, and I can't be out here all day, so you need to bring your stuff in. Especially if it's like a big grocery delivery. But anyway, so this new owner took over, and it's the worst yet. It's the worst yet. He owns a lot of complexes, like 75 complexes, just in our city. And that's not counting wherever else the fucker is. But he's one of these do as little as possible type people. It's about make money, but don't spend anything. And, you know, people get into that business for all the wrong reasons. And they get into it with the expectation that they're not going to spend any money, but they're going to have to, but they're going to make a, you know, keep raising the rent up. You know, twist a bolt, raise the rent. You know, put a little paint job on the wall, raise the rent. It's one of those deals. I don't even think the guy's from the States. I found out not long ago. I'm not going to mention where, but he's one of those scammy type fucking money hungry bastards, you know. But anyway, so it's one of those things where it used to be we'd get a new, if you know, we rarely had problems with the air conditioning prior to this guy, and he's been here about 4 years now. And every year we've had a air conditioning go out, and every year you got to wait 2.5 weeks to get it repaired, and which is unacceptable to me. You know, I understand that the fucking state of California, which is a piece of fucking dog shit, has a 30-day, you know, landlords are given 30 days to fix an air conditioning. 30 days? Who the fuck came up with that? Obviously somebody who doesn't know what it's like to not have air conditioning. Some pencil-pushing dicklick who doesn't know shit. You know, just some rich guy who lives in a fucking, you know, mansion somewhere, working for the government, passing all these idiotic laws. You know, I hate this state. A lot of people are leaving, but I wouldn't be too much in a hurry, because I think things are going to start coming to an end for these people here pretty soon. And you don't have to ask too many questions to find out who I'm voting for. And it sure as hell ain't some little old man going, no, sorry. But anyway, that's another subject all in itself, which I might touch more on here later in this video. Somebody asked me to, so I might. But it ain't gonna be pretty, that's for sure. I make Donald Trump look like fucking Mr. Rogers. Literally. You know, in fact, most people who hate Trump make Trump look like Mr. Rogers. They're hypocrites, is what they are. They're just cults. They're in a cult called Hate Trump, Hate Trump, Hate Trump, Hate Trump. Some of them don't even know why they hate Trump. It's just this automatic thing that kicks in, you know. You know, if you ask them, well, why do you hate Trump? They, honest to God, crickets start fucking chirping because they really don't know. Anyway, that's off the subject. So anyway, every time we have to wait a long time to get our air conditioning fixed, and here we are again, you know. And the reason being is instead of putting a brand new compressor in, because that's what the problem is, it's a compressor out. They put in rebuilds, and rebuilds last a year. You know, if you're lucky, you might get 2 years out of it. And it gets hot here, so in the summertime. So we run the shit out of it, and it ain't cheap to run, but comfort is important, so I'm willing to pay for it. But they drag their ass because they know they can. Because this idiotic fucktard state lets them, you know. So they have one guy for 75 properties. Just here on this property alone, which is only 83 units, they have 10 units without air conditioning. And some of those people are elderly. So if somebody kills over, man, I'd be putting the owner of this place under a bridge. I really would. I'd make him fucking suffer. I'd sue him right out of business, and I'd sue him until he and his kids and his whole family have to fucking dig through garbage cans. But anyway, the bottom line is, it's hot. And I have cats. As some of you know, I run a cat rescue, so it's been that's a challenge in itself, you know, because cats will get hot just like everything else, you know, just like dogs and people and everything else. So I gotta wet them down. I gotta keep their water changed every half an hour. I got 4 waters set up, big waters set up, which gets changed out every half an hour. So it's cool, and some of the cats, which are fluffy, I have to actually wet them down to keep them cool. If you start seeing cats, especially house cats, if you start noticing them panting, then it's too hot. And one of them, who's a fluffy cat, was panting, so that pisses me off even more, you know. And it's not the manager's fault. She understands, and I understand her position is really just, she's basically just got her hands tied. She can only do what she's allowed to do. You gotta go through 5 fucking people to twist a fucking nut around here. It's ridiculous. It's bad. It's gotten worse, and I really hope this motherfucker dies or something so that we can get a new owner in here and maybe get some changes made. Otherwise, we're probably gonna be finding somewhere else, which I'm not excited about, because I've got a lot of movies and a lot of moving, and that moving just, I mean, that's one of the reasons we probably stuck around as long as we did, is moving is, you know, next to having the fucking runs from hell, moving is tops one of the worst things in the world to me. I just hate it. And especially when you know, if you've been in one place for a while, you know, I've accumulated a lot more movies and a lot more things and everything else, and it's just going to be, probably a lot of shit will just get left behind, and some stuff will just get tossed, but probably end up with the clothes on our back and a pile of and piles and piles and boxes of movies. And the cats, of course. But anyway, that's the way things have been. It's just been, if it ain't one thing, it's fucking 10 things, you know. It's an old saying. I had an old boss who used to say that all the time, and man, that's stuck with me for a long time, because it's so true. It's never just one thing. It's nothing or everything. So here we are, back to sitting in a sauna again with a bunch of fans roaring, and I apologize for that, because I know you can hear them. But anyway, I say, you know, to this owner, fuck you and your fucking mommy, okay? Fuck you and your fucking family. I hope you all fucking rot in hell, because that's the way I feel like I'm doing right about now. And I, you know, as I get older, you know, I'm 56 years old, it seems like you get less and less tolerant of it. I mean, I've had probably 8 bottles of cold water today, which is more water than I drink in a fucking lifetime usually. So it's probably about 90 something in here. And that's with the fans running and everything, because of this cocksucking fuck. Anyway, so you wanted to talk politics. Yeah, I am voting for Trump for sure. Not because I'm a part of some MAGA cult or something. MAGA is a statement. It says "Make America Great Again," and that's exactly what it is. Okay, it's a statement, and it means "Make America Great Again." It doesn't mean "Believe in me, everything else is fucking a blur because I'm a stupid fucking robot controlled by CNN and MSNBC." No, that's not what it is, okay? It's whoever can do the job the best. If Trump was a Democrat, I'd vote for him, you know. The problem is there ain't a Democrat out there that I would put in charge of a fucking sock drawer, okay? So, at this time. So if you're a Democrat and you don't like what I'm saying, there's the door, motherfucker. So, you know, hit the road, Jack. I love you like I love shit in my mouth, okay? Anyway, so that's what I'm doing. When you fail at everything, including the border, which is probably my biggest problem right now, and it's because of the danger that he is imposing on Americans right now. He's spending all of his time worrying about fucking Ukraine and that goddamn idiot over there, and everything else, Israel and all that shit. You know, I look at it this way: fuck Israel, fuck Ukraine. Let Ukraine worry about Ukraine, okay? You think anybody's gonna come fucking rescue our ass if something happens here? No, I don't think so. So, anyway, everybody's being ignored here, but we're focusing more on everything else, and we've forgotten about the border, which is wide open. When you open the door and leave it wide open, something bad's going to come in, and I don't mean just fentanyl, and I don't mean just mentally ill and criminals and cartels and sex, child, and human trafficking and all of that shit. I'm talking about terrorism. A lot of time has passed with this door wide open, making sandwiches for a bunch of fucking criminals and people. As far as I'm concerned, if you come across the border illegally, you're a criminal, okay? My wife happens to be from Mexico originally, although she grew up in the United States, so she speaks enough Spanish probably to get by, but that's about it. But they came over here legally, there's a process. And if you can't do that, then as far as I'm concerned, just open fucking, people need to just open fire. Just get it over with. Get them out of here. Let them float down the river, I'm done, and it's not just Mexico, it's everything. There's people coming over here from the Middle East, there's people coming here from Africa, from Asia, South America, Central America, you name it. And I understand they got shitty countries they live in, and they want to come over here and where it's supposedly safe. Well, let me explain something to you. It's expensive to live here, for one. Well, it isn't if you're an illegal, if as far as the fucking Democrats are concerned, it isn't expensive because they just take care of your ass. They put you in 5-star hotels, feed you, give you cell phones and everything else. Oh, but then when they get tired of it and they figure, well, there's too many of them. Well, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? You think there was only going to be 3 or 4 showing up? I mean, these people are bumfuck idiots. And when they get tired of it, like New York, oh, you're out on the street now. I mean, we're talking about some real winners here. I mean, these people literally need to be taken outside and just done away with. Seriously. Kind of like they did in Iraq. When your name is called, you'll be taken outside, and you're out of here. You're flapping fucking wings if you're allowed to. Anyway, that's the way I feel about it. And I hate to say this, I really do, but I think it's too late to do anything about it. Of course, what they proposed recently with the border isn't going to do anything. It's really just a front. It's just more bullshit, just to try to fog up everything to make, try to get you to focus in on something else. Focus in on Trump. Focus in on hating Trump. That's what MSNBC, CNN, and all the rest of the major networks do. All they do is they just bash Trump all day long. And that's what people listen to it, especially here in California. People here in California are dumber than a fucking doorknob. Literally. A whole building could be collapsing in front of them. And you could ask them, well, is it collapsing? And they'll say no, because somebody told them it isn't. It's a cult. It's a cult. Now that's a cult. When somebody bashes, it's just like my cult series that I did recently, or not series, but the last couple of videos that I did on Heaven's Gate. It's the same principle, and it's the same thing. They sit there and they just constantly soak your brain in Trump hatred until you don't know anything else, and everything else becomes non-existent. It just gets fogged up, and all you're concerned about is how bad Trump is. And it's sick. It really is. We're talking about some real fuck-ups here. And unfortunately, the people here in California are still kind of sort of in that boat. It's getting a little better. I noticed at the Newport Beach thing that Trump did recently was pretty good. So it looks like a lot of people are kind of coming together. And I think there's more of them out there than we're led to believe. Because I honestly don't believe... I mean, there's just not that many stupid people out there, but they do exist. And I don't mean they're stupid as an opinion. It's a fact. They're stupid. You know? The whole world, the whole country's crumbling in front of their fucking faces, and they don't see it. All they see is hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump. That's exactly what I was talking about with cults, is they sit there with their faces plastered in front of MSNBC and CNN and all that bullshit, and they just get bombarded with hatred towards Trump until that's all they see. They don't see anything else. That's a cult. And I was just talking about that in one of my cult videos, you know, because I did a paper and a full study on cults, and it's the same principle. It's the same thing. It's become a religion. It really has, unfortunately. To me, it's whatever's going to work. Who's going to save our asses here? Biden or any of these other U-Haws that are running for president, or Trump? Trump's the only one capable of it. We already know his track record, regardless of who said what. You know, things have fallen apart since Biden took over, even though he'd like you to believe everything's Trump's fault. Even though he hasn't been around for 4 years, except for in the background, but, you know. But the Biden administration just throws everything back on Trump. It's all Trump's fault. Everything's Trump's fault. You know, stuff that just happened. Oh, it's Trump's fault. It's just, we're talking about some real fucking retarded bozos here, man. Excuse the term. This doesn't get used very much anymore. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not politically correct at all. If I don't like you, I'm gonna fucking stomp on your ass like a cockroach, okay? You know, even though I don't have any hatred towards my manager here with this air conditioning issue, you know, oh, and then she, you know, not to change the subject, but then she has the gall to send over some illegal immigrant maintenance guy who speaks like 2 words of English to look at the air conditioning, which is, you know, to come look at he's not going to get on the roof, because that's where the air conditioning is, or at least the last time I checked, that's where it was. To look at the thermostat. Well, that's understandable, because sometimes, yeah, maybe I pushed you know, they put a new thermostat in last year that looks like something out of fucking Star Wars. You know, since when do I need to have 15 buttons to turn the goddamn cooler on? On, off, cool, heat, end of story. And maybe set the temperature. What the fuck do I need 10 buttons on here for? Well, I didn't hit any buttons. I know better. You know, I left it the way the guy who installed it left it, and that's the way it was. Well, he goes in there and starts fucking with shit. This fucking illegal immigrant. You know, and they're paid under the table. You know, $10 an hour tops under the table to come over here and go. I mean, this guy couldn't put 2 Legos together if you paid him $1 million right now. But anyway, he pushes all kinds of buttons, and then he just fucks everything up. He even had the thing on heat. You know, my wife and I were sitting here last night, and this guy was just here yesterday. We were sitting here last night. And you know, at night it cools down, so the temperature had gone down on the thing. All of a sudden I hear something running. It wasn't the fans, and I'm thinking, God, would the air conditioning kick back in or what? Did he forget to turn it off or what? So I go over there, and he had put it on heat. So the heater kicks on, you know. And the reason why is because it got down to like 74, and I usually keep it at about 76 in the summertime, which is a comfortable temperature to me. I know that's kind of low for some people, but hey, I don't like being hot, especially at night when I'm trying to sleep. Which hasn't been very much fun. NyQuil comes in handy when it's hot, because it just knocks you out, and then you don't feel the pain too much. But, you know, it's like, what the fuck are you doing here, dude? First of all, you know, the guy did some work for my neighbor not long ago. For the door, on the door, going in and out of the apartment. The outside door. Because all he had to do was put some weather stripping up. Some weather stripping had fallen off or got old. Or the doors were supposed to be changed out 2 years ago when they painted the place, and they still haven't changed them out. They're still the original shitty doors that I could punch through with my fucking thumb. And, you know, anyway, the screws and all that shit on his weather stripping next door were coming apart and everything, so they changed the weather stripping. Well, instead of putting the weather stripping on the outside like you're supposed to, he puts it on the inside of the door. What the fuck is that, you know? We're talking about some fucking bone brain bullshit here. What's this guy doing here? Well, because you don't have to pay him $20 or $25 an hour plus full benefits. Pay him $10 an hour under the table and he's happy. You know, he's probably one of these motherfuckers that crossed over the fucking border, you know. Not that I have anything against Mexicans. I'm married to one, so you can shut that shit down real quick. But the bottom line is, it is what it is, you know. And the same thing goes with everything else around here, you know. The HVAC guy, on the other hand, one for 75 properties, one. And we've got 10 units just here that doesn't have fucking air conditioning. Plus, what other, you know, complexes that this fucking dicklick owns. How many do they have out? So I'm looking at probably 3 weeks. We're pushing the 30-day mark. And if we get close to it, I'm going to let her know that, you know, you either get going on this thing or everybody's gone. Because I will call everybody under the sun, with the exception of Jesus Christ himself, to come in here and turn this place into a goddamn parking lot. So, do not fuck with me. Okay? Because the state law says 30 days, I'm going to give you 3 weeks. Okay? Once we get to, well, actually, I'll give you 2. How's that? That's pushing it. I'll give you 2. Once we get to the 3rd week, heads are going to start rolling. And I'll make her so fucking miserable. The last manager that we had here ran out of here with her hands flaying in the air. Like she was running out of here from fucking Godzilla or something. And, why people agree to do a job like this. Sure, they get a free apartment. They probably get paid nothing. No benefits. Sit in a fucking office and put up with complaints all day long. Because, you know, everybody, you know, I like the manager. She's a nice lady, and I know she's got her hands tight. But all of these Section 8 yahoos, you know, they don't, you know, they got the IQ of a fucking, you know, a pinky-toed toenail. Okay, and they're going to blame the first person that works here for everything that goes wrong. So if your air conditioning goes out and it hasn't been fixed in a while, it's the manager's fault, you know, it's nobody else's fault. And in a lot of cases it might be, but not here. You got to go through 5 motherfuckers to get any authorization to fucking whip your dick out and take a leak, you know. So it's bad, but anyway, we'll see. So right now I'm just tolerating it, gritting my teeth, trying to stay in control. My wife is the only reason why people aren't bleeding right now. You know, and I'm not a bad person, and I'm not somebody who would wish harm on anybody. Well, I take that back. I'd wish harm on a lot of people, but, you know, in fact, you might even say I'm like borderline serial killer. Well, hell, I'm a fucking horror fan, you know? I don't give a shit about anybody, really. But if I were the owner of apartment complexes, I would take care of my people. I would take care of my tenants. Unfortunately, when you've got people that have this us and them mentality, they're, you know, you've lost it already. You know, you're going to lose respect real quick. And unfortunately, who takes the blunt force of the whole thing? The poor manager who has absolutely really nothing to do with it, which is sad, but that's the way it is. And anyway, so what else is going on movie-wise? Well, just to kind of clarify some things on this. Super Friends, the lost episodes. Well, these were not lost episodes, and I don't know if I mentioned this or not on my last video. I can't remember, but they were actually shelved episodes, and they were all shorts. There were 24 of them that were shelved because they were too controversial. So there's 24 episodes here that were actually never aired. So if you've got all 9 seasons of the Super Friends and you don't have this, then you're missing 24 episodes. There may be 1 or 2 episodes here that might still be on that might have gotten aired, but these are unaired, and it was because they were a little harsh and probably a little controversial in a lot of areas, such as bullying, gangs. You know, it was really targeting a younger audience, especially teenagers. And at the time in the 70s and 80s, you know, things were a lot different. And, you know, bullying, you know, the bullies were bullying somebody, and then the bully would do something to get back at the bullies, and, you know, that kind of thing. And it kind of made it okay to do things that we see happening today, like school massacres is an example, you know, because of bullying. But, you know, a lot of it has to do with bullying, and it just doesn't get stopped. And today it's still not being stopped. I mean, we're still leaving ourselves wide open, just like the border, you know. If you don't close your schools up and have security, then you're just setting yourself up for trouble. And especially if you're not stopping these people. And especially if they're openly talking about doing stuff online, you know. Anyway, so a lot of the episodes in this were kind of along those lines. Not violent necessarily, but like in one episode, a kid who's bullied at school gets a hold of Batman's utility belt and uses it basically as a weapon against, you know, all the gadgets and shit against his bullies. But then, of course, at the end of the episode, Batman straightens everybody out, and everybody goes away with, you know, with their arms around each other, all happy, ho-hum, you know. In a 7-minute episode, I mean, that's quick, but it almost says it's okay to go out and do something to your bullies, you know. But anyway, so that was the reason that happened. I just recently went through this. This is the Never Sleep Again. This is the Nightmare on Elm Street Legacy documentary. This is a 2-disc set. The documentary is about 4 hours, just short of 4 hours. It's a long documentary. If you haven't seen it, you'll probably sit through it with no problems, especially if you're a Nightmare on Elm Street fan. This came out in 2010. Actually came out in May of 2010. So it is actually about 24 years old. It's over 24 years old now. But it came out right after the reboot came out, which was 2010 also, which came out in April and hit the theaters. But this had already wrapped by that time, and they were already getting ready for distribution, and because it went directly to DVD, obviously. Anyway, so the 2010, not that it hurts anybody's feelings, didn't make it to the documentary, but that's fine. Everything else is there. Even though I would have liked to have seen this, because I really would like to have seen more people talk about it. All you hear about is people slamming it, and just saying how much they hated it. Not so much the 2009 Friday the 13th reboot, but I think that was mainly because Jason doesn't say anything, his face is covered, so it doesn't really matter so much whether Kane Hodder's doing it or somebody else, and he was gone anyway by the time they got to Freddy versus Jason. But they used that Kingsinger or whatever the hell his name was. But anyway, I enjoyed this, and I know I've talked about this before, but I'm not going to let people beat this into the ground. I mean, I feel bad for Jackie Earle Haley, because I always liked him, and it was his chance to kind of get to reemerge again in the acting and maybe get some more roles and stuff. And he, unfortunately it didn't go over well, and he kind of went down the tubes along with it. But anyway, the movie didn't do terrible as far as theater, but as far as reception, yeah, it didn't go over well, and it was mainly just because, Robert Englund wasn't there. But my particular like about this is the fact that they brought back the no-nonsense Freddy and the child killer, molester, whatever the fuck, back, instead of, trying to sanitize the guy and turn him into some circus clown. And that's exactly what happened. And don't get me wrong, I love all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, but I don't really care for the fact that they try to water him down and turn him into a family-friendly character. And it's just, he's a killer, for Christ's sake, Make him a killer, he's a killer. Yeah, I love the effects and stuff. Basically all the nightmares after the second one. Because the second one was pretty good too, but after that it was pretty much like getting on a roller coaster ride that you've been on a million times, but it's still fun, It's just kept doing the same shit until you got to a new nightmare, and it was, with Rhett West getting back involved, it just kind of changed it up a little, and made it a little more fun. In fact, that's actually a lot of people's favorite, aside from maybe the first one. But anyway, I still hold this one close to my heart just because I loved his no-nonsense, get to the point. You're a killer, I'm not here to crack jokes with you. I'm here to kill your ass, and that's all there is to it. Anyway, I haven't gotten around to a lot of other things, except for, I did finally watch the new Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Dial of Destiny. It was okay. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of action. I was pretty invested in it throughout the entire film, so it was fun. It had some great effects, fun chases and all of that, and it was surprisingly gory and a lot more violent than I was expecting coming from Disney, especially since they just took this thing over, and I was thinking they were going to turn it into, Peter Pan or something, but they really they pumped the blood in this one, and they did some there was some gory scenes in it, surprisingly, and a lot of death. So I give them a high five for that. It was very full of blood and death. So I'm not going to complain too much about that. Also, I went back and started checking out the old Star Wars movies. I looked at The New Hope again for the first time in about 15 years. And I haven't played the Blu-ray in quite a while, and it was still fun. And then I watched it again with the new edited version, when they implanted a lot of CGI and stuff in it. That was like watching a bad shark movie, literally. And of course, I got to realize that that was before CGI was as big as it is now. But you know, it was still kind of in its primitive stages. So the monsters and all of that, the aliens and stuff that they CGI'd were pretty clumsy, pretty clunky looking, pretty cartoony. But that's alright. I checked out the Ginger Snaps movie again. It's been a while. I haven't gotten to this one. I'm going to check this one out again. Ginger Snaps Back. 1 and 2 I enjoyed again for the first time for quite a long time. Over 10 years, I know that. This one I remember nothing about the beginning. So I'm looking forward to going back and checking that out. So I've just been kind of going through my DVDs and some of my Blu-rays and so on. I have yet to check out Sequel. And I'm looking at, I still need to go through Saw X yet. I'm still missing Spiral, which supposedly is part of the Saw series, but I don't know. Is it? I guess. I left it out because I didn't think I was really needing it, but here's one I haven't seen in a long time. Remember Bleak Future? This was a lot of fun. It kind of reminds you of Peter Jackson in a way, like his Bad Taste movie, you know, gory and funky and crazy effects and shit. Anyway, that's really about it. I'm kind of dragging this video on a little too long. I can't wait for my next horror pack, which is coming in hopefully by the end of next week. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'll be doing an unpacking of my horror pack. Maybe on a live feed. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm going to try and do another live feed, so if you're interested in checking it out, then come check me out. I don't know when I'm going to do it yet. I may try for tomorrow. We'll see how I feel. It's been a little sopping hot around here, and you know, sometimes you lose momentum. However, I'm already going on almost 43 minutes here, so maybe I've got the energy to do it. I've got just enough anger in me right now with all the bullshit going on that maybe I can pump a live stream out and have fun with it. I was thinking about, like I had mentioned in my video, I was thinking about maybe doing a collaboration with somebody. Anybody who wants to join me on the live stream can join me, and we can talk about movies or stupid people or whatever you want. True crime, which I cover that too, or mysteries, whatever. Alright guys, well, I'm going to cut this thing off before this fucking thing goes to 45 minutes and I end up waiting 2.5 years for an upload. So we'll see you soon around the bend, and we'll let you know if I do a live stream and when it'll be. Alright guys, talk to you later.